All right, for writing today, we're just going to get some ideas ready for our writing. This week, we're doing a fiction story. I want you to think about what fiction means. Yeah, that means that it's a fake story. This is not going to be a real story. There are two different types of fiction stories. We're going to read an example of one type. Fritz and Icky visited Grandpop at his cabin. I bet it was hot in the van, said Grandpop. Shall we swim? You bet, Grandpop, said Fritz. Fritz, Icky, and Grandpop ran into the pond. Splash, splash, splash! Grandpop's splash was the biggest. So think about this type of story. Are these characters real characters? They could be real people, exactly. Could they be doing these things? Are these real things you can do in life? Yes, they can. You can go for a swim, you can be in a pond, you can make splashes. These are things that could happen, okay? Fritz and Icky and Grandpop are like real people. So this is called realistic fiction. This is one kind of story you might write. The other kind of story you might write is very, very different. It's not realistic fiction, it's a different kind of fiction. Let's read. Mouse Deer looked a little bit like a mouse, but he was not a mouse. He looked a little bit like a deer, but he was not a deer. He was Mouse Deer, and that was that. Little Mouse Deer liked berries better than anything, but all the berries were on the other side of the river. I have to get across that river, Mouse Deer said. Now I want you to think. The character in this story could that be a real character? No, because a mouse deer is not a real thing. This is a fantasy story. So both are not true stories. You're not going to tell me something that happened this weekend. You're making up a story. But you can decide if you want it to be like real life or if you want it to be fantasy and not like real life. All right. So to get some ideas going, we're going to look at some of our characters and the settings where they are. So on this page, these are some who characters, who the story would be about. We see girl, boy, super kid, astronaut, princess, knight, elf, dragon. You could write a story about some of these things. Some of them could be like real life, and some of them are fantasy. It's going to be your choice. Okay, let's look at some other ones. You can pause the video if you want to look at them more. Some more characters might be a bear, a mouse, chicken, bug, monster, robot, car, pickle. All right. And look at some of them. Some of them look like real animals, and some, like this mouse, she's wearing a dress. Is that like real life? No, she must be for a fantasy story. Okay. So these are some other characters that you might pick. You can pause the video to look at it more. Now, once you have your characters for your story, you have to choose where it's going to be. So let's look at these pictures to see where we might be in your story. School, a toy shop, a farm, a park, a beach, desert, North Pole, forest. I think all of the choices on this page could be like real life, because all of these places you could go to. You can pause the video if you want to look at it more. And your last page are some more places where your story might take place. In the mountains, under the sea, in a house, in a castle, on a train, in a ship, in a rocket ship, or on planet Mars. So these are some more ideas of where your story can take place. Okay, now what I am going to do is I am going to upload these pictures onto Dojo. And what you can do is if you can't print them out, that's fine. I want you to look and I want you to match them. They are not right or wrong. You decide what you want to match together. You might pick the ship to go with the robot character. And that might be your idea for your story that you're going to write. So today, all you're doing is picking your character and your place, your who and your where that your story is going to take place. It's probably a good idea to write it down, but you don't have to. So just make sure you have those ideas in your head. So when we start doing more for our writing tomorrow, you already know who and where your story is going to be. Remember, it is fiction, and it might be a story that is like real life, or it might be a story that's completely fantasy. That's up to you. Okay? So we're just getting some ideas for now. Great job.